to inspect and maintain a chainsaw. PIDP 3240, Media Enhanced Learning. Assignment 3, Online PowerPoint Presentation. Nicholas Chapman, student number 000435081. To maintain a chainsaw, you'll need the following tools. From left to right: gloves, safety glasses, a bar wrench, a round file, possibly two, a flat file, a spare chain just in case it needs replacing, and handles for your file so they don't dig into your hands. To begin your inspection, have a look at the side of the saw with the fuel tanks. You'll want to make sure the casing is not cracked. Your trigger safety mechanism is intact and operational. You'll want to ensure that you're not leaking any fuel and that you're not leaking any bar oil. Now, having a look at the second side, you'll want to make sure that your chain brake is operational and not cracked. Your casing not cracked on this side. Both bar nuts are not cracked and accounted for. And down at the bottom, you'll want to make sure that your chainstay is intact and functional. Having a closer look at the bar nuts and chainstay, you want to make sure that those bar nuts are not cracked and that they're well secured to the housing. Down below, we'll have a look and make sure that our chainstay is intact. This is important in making sure that you do not get injured by a broken chain. To begin disassembly, you'll disengage your chain brake by pulling it towards the handle. And then you'll take both bar nuts and turn them in a counterclockwise direction with your bar wrench. Once this is complete, you'll take the flathead end of your bar wrench, insert it into the tensioning opening, and turn counterclockwise. With the bar nuts loose, you should be able to unthread them the rest of the way by hand and then pull the cover off in an upward motion. If the inside is covered with dirt and debris, you can take the bar wrench flathead end and scrape it all out. You'll want to make sure that it's nice and clean. We can now remove the bar and chain. Sometimes the teeth get caught in the flywheel, and you have to take your firm hand on the bar and chain with a glove, push towards the flywheel, and then lift off. This should come off in one fluid motion. If not, loosen your adjustment screw a little more. With the bar removed and the chain off, we now want to have a close look. On the edge, we should be looking for any burrs that are forming. If these are present, we'll have to remove them as they can hinder the performance of your chain. On the right-hand side of the screen, we want to inspect the tip of the chainsaw and make sure there are no cavitation wear marks. Now that we've done the inspection of our bar, we'll want to reassemble before we can start sharpening our saw. It's important to remember that there are little teeth that have to fit inside of a groove on your flywheel. If they're not lined up, it won't fit in properly. Keep this in mind as you're going through your reassembly. Now that our chain has been realigned, we can now put our cover back on and tighten the bar nuts finger tight. Down the bottom left, you'll see we can retension our chain to line it up onto our bar. And on the right-hand side, you'll want to make your bar finger tight with that bar wrench. Don't over tighten. If chainsaw maintenance is something that will be regular for you, I would recommend getting a bench vise. It would help if you got a vise that has multiple different angles that can be achieved. This will help you accomplish the correct filing angle that's most comfortable for you and results in a better product. Before we sharpen, let's have a look at the tooth. The tooth is composed of two main sections: the leading edge, also known as the depth gauge or the raker, and the rear, which is the chisel or the tooth. The tooth has a wear mark. You should not file beyond this line. Doing so could cause catastrophic failure of your chain. We had talked about having a couple of different files available for filing. In this case, we chose the larger diameter file. It was the right choice to give us good contact with the leading edge of our tooth. From here, you'll file with a left hand motion for this style tooth with a small amount of back pressure. Having a look at the side profile of our tooth, we can see there are wear marks here as well. The depth gauge has a wear mark, which should not be filed below. And as well, the back side of the tooth has a wear mark on this side, telling you not to file beyond that point. Doing so, once again, could lead to the failure of your chain. When looking at our tooth alignment, we should make sure that the leading edge, or that depth gauge, should not be taller than the cutting edge of your tooth. The purpose of this is to set the thickness of the chips that the chain will be cutting. In the event that your depth gauge is too tall in comparison to the front edge of your tooth, all you will need to do to correct this is to make a few passes across the top of your depth gauge. You would then complete this task for any other depth gauges that needed correcting. One final regular maintenance inspection point that we need to look at, and it's the air filter. To access, find the slotted toggles on the top of your chainsaw casing. Use the flathead end of your bar wrench to turn them counterclockwise. There should be 3 of them. Filter and engine exposed. Have a quick look. In this case, we can tell that this air filter needs to be cleaned. To do this, all you do is put your hand on the back side of the air filter and turn it counterclockwise. Once that's done, you should be able to pull it straight back and it'll disengage. We'll just go ahead and bang it against our workbench. It should disengage all those little particles. If you find oil present or other contaminants that will trap sawdust, you will need to replace your air filter. To put your air filter back, simply reverse the steps of removal. Sources used for this video. All information was gained through experience and talking with industry professionals.